Hello everyone, welcome to my review of the Fantastic Four First Steps, and they said it couldn't be done. I've heard it over and over again during this movie's production that it could not be done, but by God, these mad lads have done it, boys. They did it. They made a great Fantastic Four movie, something that Fox has had so much time to just ruin. In a way, look, I like the early 2000 Fantastic Four movies. I don't think there's a single soul on this planet that likes the 2015 one, but to be honest, nothing compares to this. Because, to be honest with you guys, if Marvel did this wrong, they can pack their bags and leave the building right now. They might as well cancel the whole of the MCU, because they cannot ruin the first Marvel family. Which, by the way, I will say this, not necessarily spoilers, something that happens at the end of the movie, not a spoiler, but I did like the fact that that was actually a tribute, in a way, to Jack Kirby. Thought that was very nice. That is how the movie ends, technically. It ends after the credits. You have, like, this tribute, like, in memory of, like, Jack Kirby, or look, it's been a couple of hours since I watched the movie, once again, just like with Superman, had to help my sister with some Pokemon stuff, so it has been a while. But this movie is really good, and also, I like how it feels kind of new, even though it isn't, but that's because every Fantastic Four movie has had the Fantastic Four face off against Doctor Doom, except for Rise of the Silver Surfer, where we had the Galactus, but we didn't get the real Galactus. Well, here we go, boys, because the Fantastic Four are basically facing off against Galactus, and to be honest, the ending of Thunderbolts gives nothing away. I'll say that right now. That one gives nothing really away, and I like that, because I kind of felt like I knew how the movie was gonna go, because of the mid-credit scene for Thunderbolts, where it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is how it's gonna go, and that's how they end up there, and this is what's gonna happen. And then I watch the movie and I'm like, oh my God, none of the thoughts I had in my head were actually happening, which is good. Also, the spoiler talk is gonna be a little bit of a problematic endeavor because of the fact that there does not seem to be a description for this movie online, which I have a little bit of an issue with, because my memory may not be as fresh. Oh no, Wikipedia has a bit of a set, so I'll be able to be maybe just fine, because I may have to read up on it because it's been a while. But anyway, I don't really want to spoil much of this movie, so let's just get into the cast. And what I love about this movie as well is that they kept the cast small. Actually, you know what? Before we get into the cast, there's something else I wanted to say, because there were people like last year when this movie went into production, they were like, oh, but this movie is gonna be bad because of the fact that Superman has had like 2 years of CGI work and Fantastic Four has like a couple of months of CGI work. I will say this movie CGI looks way better than Superman. I'll say that this movie is also better than Superman. Look, I love Superman. I love the Superman himself, but I will say that this movie is better. Anyway, casting time. So, starting off, we have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic. And to be honest, even though I have seen basically nothing with him in it, I have some fatigue from Pedro Pascal, but that's more in the real world. But that doesn't matter here, but I just thought I'd mention it because he's everywhere and he is as cringe as they come. I hate the interviews for the Fantastic Four. I will say that for this movie, I hate the interviews because they're always so stupid and people are saying dumb things. But the whole joke around Pedro Pascal, I'm not a fan of it personally, and I think it's kind of pathetic. However, when he was cast as Mr. Fantastic, people were like, no, but I gotta give it to him, man. He's got acting. He knows how to act and he is good in the role. Now, to be honest, without like the facial hair, would he look more like Reed Richards? Yeah, probably. Probably would look a bit better. However, outside of that, he's great in this movie. He is absolutely the leader of the Fantastic Four, which, by the way, I saw like an interview or something like that on Twitter before, like last week. I think it was either last week or it was this week, where it's like, oh, hey, Sue Storm is actually the leader of the Fantastic Four. And it's like, that's not even close to being true. Why are you lying? You are trying to get people into seats that are never gonna watch this movie anyway, okay? Please don't say those things. Don't lie about your movie, because Reed Richards is the one who does the press conferences and he's the one that comes up with all the plans. Dude, he's the leader of the team, okay? Not to take anything away from Sue Storm, but we're not there yet. But anyway, I thought he was great as Mr. Fantastic. I can't really say anything other than that. Like, there was nothing I really disliked about him. Like, initially, I was like, why does, Invisible Woman have a deeper voice than Mr. Fantastic? But then that was only like the beginning part of the movie, and afterwards he had just a normal voice. Like, okay. It's fine. But but I just thought he was gonna go into like a wimpy voice thing or something like that, but that didn't happen. But like I said, he was good. Then we have actually technically the breakout star in a way of this movie. We have Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, also known as Invisible Woman, and this is good casting, boys. She's fantastic in the role, okay? She is really good. She's not the leader of the Fantastic Four, but she is really good. And there's one scene in this movie that I feel like people are actually gonna have a problem with. However, in the spoiler talk, I'll talk more about why it happened, but I feel like some right-wing circles are gonna have some issues with that scene, and I personally don't have an issue with it at all. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. She is a fantastic actress. To be honest, I don't actually think I've ever seen her in anything before, but I am happy that she was cast as the Invisible Woman. She was perfect casting. After that, we have Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and I want to see this man next to Spider-Man. That is what I want to see. Come on, it's just like, he's great, by the way, in the role. I love him in the role. However, he is still a womanizer technically in this movie, even though the interviews say that he isn't. Once again, playing to the wrong crowd. Certain things you should not say, but he is still a womanizer, and I'm gonna say something that is potentially controversial, but that's why they made the Silver Surfer a woman, okay? That's why they chose the woman version of Silver Surfer, because of the fact of who Human Torch actually is. He is toned down, sure, but that's because we gotta keep it moving. We got a 2-hour marker. We gotta hit that bad boy, which is actually true, by the way. However, it actually made people think that this movie was gonna be bad, and it's fantastic. Get it? But yeah, anyway, he's great in the role. I thought Joseph Quinn was absolutely fantastic in the role. I can't help but make the puns, but he was fantastic in the role. I loved the scenes that he had, and he even has a little bit of a section of the movie on his own, and I love that sequence as well, but that's more for spoiler talk. And then after that, finally, for the Fantastic Four, we have Micro as the Thing, or, well, technically it's Ibn Mas Bashrak, which I still don't know how to pronounce your name, your last name anyway, but he plays Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. And yeah, look, he was also Micro in The Punisher, which actually, funny enough, right now I am wearing a Punisher shirt because I went to this movie and I was like, what shirt am I gonna wear that is kind of related? And I was like, all right, yeah, Micro is in this movie as The Thing. I'll just put on a Punisher shirt. So I did that, and he's also really good in the role. He doesn't really get much to do in the movie, but I don't necessarily mind that, but he is great. There's some great moments in this movie. This movie also takes place over the course of a long time. I just realized that, actually, just like a lot of time passes in this movie. But overall, the whole Fantastic Four cast are absolutely fantastic together. Oh, and by the way, I don't have an issue with Ibn playing The Thing and also playing Micro because of the fact that this is on a different Earth. Then after that, we have Julia Garner as Shalabal, also known as the Silver Surfer, the female Silver Surfer, boys. And that has caused a big storm online, as it usually does. I don't know why they went with the female one, because let's be honest here, you can gender swap this one. You can make it a male version and it wouldn't change anything. I will say that is what I like about this as well. The fact that they did not go into the whole thing about this one being a woman, which some Marvel movies actually fall into that trap. This one doesn't. This one is just like, I'm a woman, and that's it, you know? Simple as that. However, I do feel like they picked the female Silver Surfer because of Johnny Storm, but nonetheless, she's great in the movie, even though I will say she is kind of a weaker part, but that's more on the spoiler talk thing. And then finally, we have Ralph Ineson as Galactus, our main bad guy of the movie. And man, I thought you'd be bigger. I thought you'd be bigger. And by the way, that is not a spoiler for this movie. That is what I felt in the trailers. When the trailers came out and you see Galactus's foot in New York, I'm like, excuse me, I thought you'd be bigger. I thought the Earth would be like the size of a soccer ball in front of you. Like, I didn't know you could actually stand on Earth and walk around. Like, I thought you would be, like, literally. The fact is that it's a soccer ball. That is how big it is in your hands. You know, I was kind of expecting something like Unicron from, like, Transformers, which, by the way, this guy is because he loves eating planets. However, I will say this. The voice actor and also the other acting, but to be honest, he mainly acts in the voice, is fantastic. Ralph does a really good job as Galactus. I don't know who he is. Don't care. He's Galactus in my book, boys. He is Galactus in my book. And he was great. I loved him in this movie. And to be honest, I also love that they use some, like, practical effects. Because from what I've seen, like, some behind the scenes, I've heard about some behind the scenes stuff, was the fact that apparently they made, like, a miniature city and they had the actor actually in costume stomp around, which I actually think is a great way to do that kind of stuff. The fact that a lot of movies don't really do that kind of stuff is very disappointing. And to be honest, I'm a big fan. Also, this movie was directed by Matt Shackman. I should probably say that in more of these reviews. It's not really gonna happen. He was also a director on a couple of episodes of WandaVision, a lot of episodes actually. And while I am not the biggest fan of WandaVision, I'm gonna say he was not the problem with WandaVision because he very much delivered with Fantastic Four. And I'm also happy that actually John Watts, the Spider-Man director, was kicked out of the project because of the fact that, you know, this was just a fantastic movie. I need to stop making that pun. And then finally, we also have Matthew Wood as Herbie, and I cannot say anything about it. Also, by the way, yeah, that's a car to me. I'm just saying it. That's a car to me. That's not supposed to be a robot. That's supposed to be a car. But still, I don't actually really remember Herbie talking much in the movie, so I can't really say anything about the actor. But to be honest, Herbie was fun on screen, so I will just go with that one. That's why I'm mentioning Herbie. And that's basically the cast. A very small cast, but overall a really good cast. So then I think it's time we head into the final verdicts because I really have talked about everything. Are there problems with the movie? Yes, some. Therefore, the spoiler talk, but I can't really say anything about any problems that I have because they would be spoilers. So, my final verdict for the Fantastic Four First Steps, which, by the way, the Fantastic Four First Steps, I think the should have been later. Fantastic Four The First Steps would have been a better title, in my opinion. Anyway, the final verdict for that bad boy is an actual 9 out of 10, boys. Yes, a 9 out of 10. I love this movie. I came out of the theater being like, this is so good. You know, I didn't think Marvel had it. I mean, Marvel has been kind of going upwards in a way, you know, with the good parts of Born Again. You have Thunderbolts. I'm not gonna count Ironheart because that thing was made like 15 years ago, so that doesn't count. And also Wonder Man. That's not really gonna impact what I think about the MCU because even if Wonder Man is bad, it doesn't matter because that was also made 5 years ago, so none of that really matters. You know, we need to look at the new stuff, and Fantastic Four is a fantastic movie, and I would highly recommend you go out there and see it, but I want to talk spoilers, so I'm gonna end it here. So let me know what you guys thought about Fantastic Four First Steps if you saw it in the comment section down below. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I do hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you did, please like button, subscribe if you have done so already. Turn on notifications, don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel link in the description and at the end of the video, and I'll see you guys Saturday for my big finale on the Devastator from Revenge of the Fallen reviews, and also next week we'll be picking up back right where we left off with the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Fist Season 1. God help me. I have finished up that review already, so I don't have to worry about it. That happened last year, but that's coming out next week, and then also we're just gonna continue on with the MCU until we are eventually caught up, or maybe when we need to take breaks. But that's it, so have yourself a fantastic day. Bye!